Back here on CBS Sports HQ, talk about a battle at the top in the NFC West. It always brings the fireworks, and this year will be another fight to the finish. It gets even more interesting on Sunday when the top two teams go head-to-head. Both the Seahawks and the Rams sitting at 7-2, both riding four-game win streaks, and both will have to be careful with the 49ers looming. We have got our NFL writer, John Breech, back with us to break down what the rest of the season will look like in this wild, wild west ride, I should say, John Breech. Say that 3 times fast. Let's talk about the Seahawks going into Week 11. They're coming off that 44-22 win over the Cardinals to reclaim the top spot for now. We saw the defense come alive. We saw JSN cross over the 1,000-yard mark. How do you see the rest of the season playing out in Seattle?
Yeah, the Seahawks have been absolutely dominant over the past 2 weeks, Haley, sitting at 7-2. So what happens over these final 8 games? Well, let's take a look at their schedule. I think on Sunday, this is obviously a huge game. You're playing your co-first place team there in the Los Angeles Rams. I think the Rams get the best of them. That game is in LA, so Seattle has to go on the road. And then you look at the rest of the Seahawks schedule, and there are some very winnable games against the Titans. That feels like a win. The Falcons, the Panthers, both of those feel like wins. But then you have a couple interesting games. Number one with the Vikings, where you have Sam Darnold revenge game, but you also have Brian Flores, a very good defensive coordinator. He knows Sam Darnold's weaknesses. I don't think that team is going to lose by 21 points to the Seahawks, but I like Seattle in that game too. You go to the Colts. If that game was in Indianapolis, I would probably pick Indy, but Indianapolis has to go out to Seattle. I'm going to take the Seahawks there. And then the Rams on Thursday night in Week 16. I'm going to say the Rams pull off the sweep. I just think the Rams are a slightly better team this year. Not the Seahawks aren't great. They're going to go to the playoffs. They're going to make some noise in the postseason. And because the Rams get that sweep, that means the Seahawks won't have anything to play for in Week 18. So the 49ers beat them. Seattle ends up 12-5.
Yeah, it's going to be fun on Sunday. I will say this, must-watch TV when the Rams and the Seahawks meet for the first time. A lot of it has just been because of Matthew Stafford. He continues to elevate each and every week. So when we look at the Rams, I know you kind of broke down how you think they're going to do against the Seahawks, but for the rest of the schedule with the Rams, is this your division winner?
This is absolutely my division winner. The Rams just totally flummoxed me all year because they threw me a curveball to everyone back in August when Matthew Stafford didn't practice for 3 weeks because of his back injury. I didn't even think Matthew Stafford was going to be able to get out of bed in Week 1, let alone show up and then just go on a roll. And the Rams have looked like one of the best teams in football because Stafford has been playing at an MVP level. The only quarterback in NFL history to throw 4 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions in 3 straight games. He's on a heater right now, and I do not expect that to stop, and that's good because they have some very difficult games. They have the 6th most difficult strength of schedule for the rest of the season. After they face the Seahawks, that's a huge game against the Buccaneers on Sunday night. I think they win that one. And then you see the Panthers and Cardinals, both very winnable games. You also have that showdown with Detroit. Stafford's going to want to get revenge on his old team. I actually think the Lions win that game, but then the Rams rebound with that Thursday night win over the Seahawks, and then beating the Falcons on Monday night. So at that point, the Rams will have swept the Seahawks. They'll have clinched the division, rest their starters in Week 18, lose to Arizona, and head to the postseason with a 13-4 record.
They did just drop the uniforms that they're set to wear in that game against the Seahawks. They're very nice. They're calling them midnight mode. Like, think deep navy with like blue pops and yellow. It's like Chargers, but dare I say better. So I'm excited about the uniform matchup in that one. Also curious about the Niners in this situation because it seems like it doesn't matter who's on the field for them. They find a way to win. They have had injury after injury after injury, and yet they sit in 3rd in the division, but like a close 3rd here, Breech. The schedule as well is very favorable as we take a look at it here. How does this team finish?
Yeah, you look at the 49ers, they have the easiest strength of schedule of any team in this division for the rest of the season. It is just like Kyle Shanahan is trying to will his team to that Week 14 bye. Let's just keep our head above water so we can actually get healthy. And at 6-4, I do think they can do that because you look at these games they have before that bye. You're talking about the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Browns, all 3 games against teams that are all 500 or under 500 at this point. And so I do think the 49ers win all of those games. And if they're 9-4 at the bye, they're going to be feeling very comfortable. They have the Titans coming out of that. That seems like a game the 49ers should win. So now they're up to 10 wins if they do win all these games, and I think they'll be favored in all 4 of those games. Then you look at that closing stretch to end the year. If they win just one of those, and I do think they'll beat the Bears, they get up to 11 wins. That gets them to 11-6, and I have to think 11-6 gets them in a postseason. So I like San Francisco to get to the playoffs at 11-6, Haley.
3 teams potentially as playoff contenders here. This division is always so fun, and as we talked about earlier, it always comes down to the last couple of weeks. So it feels like we're in for a treat there. Unfortunately, the Cardinals just cannot keep up right now. It feels like, have you ever seen that meme where it's like the 3 dragons and it's like 2 serious, scary dragons and then the silly one? That's kind of how the Cardinals feel to me right now. Obviously, they put Kyler Murray on IR. They just got handled that terrible loss to the Seahawks earlier this week. What's the goal? What does the rest of the season look like for that 3rd dragon in Arizona?
The 3rd dragon is going nowhere. This feels like it's been a bad luck season, really, for the Cardinals, because if you look at before the Seattle game, their 5 losses when they were 3-5 had all been by 4 points or less. They were only a few plays away from being 6-2 or even 7-1. But then the wheels fell off the wagon in Seattle, and they lost by 22 points. And at this point, it does feel like their season is over. The 3-6. You look at that impossible slate of games they have coming up with the 49ers. Then they have to play Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, and the Rams. I don't think they're going to win any of those games. And then if you lose all 4 of those, you're sitting at 3-10. And then how motivated are your players when that's your record going into mid-December? So maybe they pull off an upset at the end of the season against Houston or Atlanta. And like I said, if the Rams have clinched the division, maybe they rest their starters in week 18. So I could see the Cardinals getting to 5 wins, maybe 6 if everything goes right, but I don't think it's going to be much higher than that. So I'll just say 5-12, and the Cardinals go into the offseason in kind of a depressing way, because this team's going to have a lot of things to figure out if that ends up being the case.
You know what, though, John? They did beat my Cowboys in prime time, so they can have that on their schedule. Breech, we appreciate the time. As always, want to give you folks at home one final look at his NFC West predictions for each team. He has the Rams winning this division in a close one, 13-4 their final record, followed by the Seahawks. The 49ers, he feels like they could be a playoff team if things fall in their favor, and then the Cardinals, that 3rd dragon. Let's just get through the season happy and healthy in Arizona.